Welcome back to Issues of Faith. We are talking with biblical scholar James Crenshaw, who's the distinguished alumnus of 2015 from the Vanderbilt Graduate School of Religion. And you're about to teach a course there at Vanderbilt on the hidden books of the Bible. These are books that have been in the Bible, they're taken out of the Bible, they're in, they're out. At this point, I guess they're not in the Bible, they're out, but they're there for study. And so you kind of gave us a run through of what is in there. What's your opinion? Should these books be in the Bible? What do you think?
Well, I think they should be in the Bible, and they actually are in the Bible of the Roman Catholics and of the Eastern Orthodox. And some of them really are splendid books in terms of the moral. Take, for example, Sirach. The book, or it's also called Ecclesiasticus. And Sirach, though he's a misogynist, the sad part of it, he praises the heroes of the past, and he incorporates the biblical history into the so-called wisdom literature. And in Proverbs and in Job and in Ecclesiastes, that had never occurred. So now Ecclesiasticus does, and it at least it has a concept of God as controlling history. And I think that's a very important notion that is not found in the rest of the text.
So that would be one of the main takeaways, and perhaps something that would be very relevant today to people.
Right, and much of it, for example, there are instructions as to about the problem of evil, which has been my interest most of my career. And the answer that this author provides is the same as that in Stoic philosophy, and that is that the creator of the universe has balanced good and evil, and they fight against one another, and eventually God is on the side of good, and they're going to triumph. And that's true in a number of these texts. They talk about the ultimate victory. So I think that's important.
Well, that's one of the big questions we have on this show, is when tragedy happens, and it happens so often, how could God allow that to happen? There are people that ask that all the time. And so you're saying in those books there is that answer. There is an answer.
There is an answer. As a matter of fact, there are at least 10 different answers provided in the texts of the ancient world. And some of them, they talk about the fact that God is compassionate. For example, another of those texts is Wisdom of Solomon. And its answer is that God is so compassionate that he allows people to sin. God is merciful, and it emphasizes the grace of God. Both Wisdom of Solomon and Sirach stress God's compassion. In Exodus 33, 6 and 7, it describes the 13 attributes of God, and one of them is compassion or kindness, loving kindness. And the book of Ecclesiasticus actually ends with the emphasis on the grace of God, the mercy of God.
So there is hope in this broken
There is very much hope.
So you have written a book about Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is fascinating. When I was a kid, I would always say that was my favorite book, and it was a time for casting away stones, a time to gather stones. Yes. There's a time for everything. There's that song. We all know the song that comes straight from Ecclesiastes. There are many sayings that come from Ecclesiastes that are part of our culture. There is nothing new under the sun.
Yes.
Vanity of vanities, and some of them are quite pessimistic, frankly. And so what is so important about Ecclesiastes? I mean, when I looked at it, and I just kind of re-looked at it, it looks like it's written by someone who is profoundly depressed. They're saying, and they say there is no purpose in human life. That's one thing in here. God's ways are impossible to understand. So it's written by somebody who's clearly struggling with their faith, I guess.
Yes.
And so what do you see in Ecclesiastes?
Well, I've been fascinated with Ecclesiastes ever since in the early 60s. And I wrote the commentary, Old Testament Library commentary on Ecclesiastes. So this is my second book on that little biblical book. I think not only...
Oh, and there it is. Now, how do you say the name of it again?
Koheleth.
Koheleth, okay.
And
the ironic wink. Okay, there it is.
It's a pun taken from the story about Solomon's congregating the people, assembling them to dedicate the temple. And it uses the word kahal, the Hebrew word to summon or to call. And this is it's the feminine form, the participial form, koheleth, and it means the one who calls or the one who invites people to an assembly. But
why do you think it speaks to you? Why does it speak to you? And why do you think it speaks to so many in our culture now?
Well, it's the strangest book in the Bible. And in many ways, it actually denies that God even is interested in us. God is so distant, so let your words be few. But it is a realistic book. I mean, it recognizes that life is not always a happy occasion, and that bad things happen. And the book of Job is obviously in the background of this author. And he is saying, let's be realistic. Let's face the fact that God causes the rain to shine on the good and on the bad, that evil things happen. And in spite of that, the conclusion to that is he has two refrains, and one is utter futility. Everything is futile, or everything is ephemeral. There's no lastingness. And the second thing is there is no profit to all that we do. We work, but in the end, we can't take anything with us.
And that rich and poor, in the end, are equul. We all die.
So we all die. So what are we going to do? And his answer is, enjoy life. He really is. He quotes a text from an ancient epic, the Gilgamesh epic, about where the alewife advises Gilgamesh, quit going on this quest to find eternal life. It's futile, but enjoy life.
Enjoy the now. Enjoy the moment that you're in.
With the wife you have and with your children.
I read that that Ecclesiastes is a book that's often quoted, embraced, perhaps by atheists.
It is, and by philosophers, by poets. In fact, I began that book with a discussion of a praise by a literary recipient of the Nobel Prize. And she starts off by saying, Ecclesiastes, now come on, listen, you know there is something new under the sun.
Because that's one of the quotes, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. And
everything has been done before, which again is kind of a pessimistic thing to say. And yet you're quoting someone in there who says, yes, of course there are new things. There are new babies that are born that are new and unique, and there are new poems that are written that have never been written before. And so where does that, what do you think of that?
Well, I think Ecclesiastes is it's really a diary where he puts down his thoughts on this day, but on another day there are different thoughts. So it's a dialectic. Really, it's almost as if it's an inner dialogue where he is in dialogue with himself, like the great Blaise Pascal's Pensées, where he writes about his thoughts, and so you have thoughts that are, one day they say one thing, another day they say a different thing. And that's true of all of us. We have mixed feelings depending on how we wake up, which side of the bed we get up on.
So it's fascinating when we talk about the hidden books of the Bible that this book was included. This book made it.
Right.
And I think it does read as though it is someone who is writing, and maybe it's not their best week. You know, they've had some harsh realities kind of hit them in the face, and so it's just interesting this is in the Bible, and I'm glad it is, because it's very interesting to read. But we have a minute left. I mean, was there some debate about whether this would be in or out?
The Ecclesiastes?
Right.
Yes. There was debate over several books. Proverbs because it has different competing statements back to back. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. They debated Ecclesiastes and Ezekiel. Ezekiel, because he had a new festival that Moses had not
okay,
taught.
we have to break. I'm so interested in all that. Thank you, James Crenshaw. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being here and being part of this discussion. Thank you for watching Issues of Faith. Have a great day, everybody.